ओम सर्वधर्मस्थापकस्त्वं सर्वधर्मस्वरूपकः आचार्याणां महाचार्यो रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. We are studying Sri Ramakrishna, the great master, second part, that is sadhana bhav, and today we have to read the 19th chapter, and there is a little problem with the name. The Bengali name is Swajana Viyog. Now in English, it has been translated as the death of the master's relations. Relations, plural. Now when we go through the chapter, we shall see two deaths are described. One is Akshay, who was Sri Ramakrishna's nephew. So he comes under the category of relations. And the other is Mathur Babu, the great devotee. So he is not Sri Ramakrishna's relation. So we go back to Bengali, Swajana Viyog. Swajana means his own people. Now his own people may be relations, may not be relations. And if we go strictly according to Bengali, we could have avoided the word the death also. Swajana Viyog. So we could say loss of his own people. Loss of his own people. If you say death, all right, death, but death does not suit here. The loss of his own people, that should be the heading. Now, as I said, it's a too much of a serious events in Thakur's life. So let us read the story of Akshay, son of Ram Kumar. Thakur's eldest brother was Ram Kumar, and his son name is Akshay. Now he is telling the story of who was Akshay, how it was related to Thakur, what was the special feature, what happened when he passed away. We have already acquainted the reader a little with Akshay, the son of the master's eldest brother Ram Kumar. What they have introduced? That Ram Kumar had a knowledge, pre-knowledge, that his wife, when she delivers a child, she will die. And so, Akshay was born and Ram Kumar's wife died. This we know. Now, Akshay is growing. And so, we also, it is given in the first part where we will go later, but Thakur had very special affection for Akshay. Thakur was in Kamarpukur at that time. And so, he has handled him like his own child, taking him on a lap and all that. And it is this Akshay. Akshay came to Dakshineshwar and was appointed priest in the Vishnu temple in 1865. A short time after, the revered Totapuri came there. So when Totapuri came, Haladhari was priest and Akshay was appointed the priest of the Vishnu temple. Akshay was then about 17 years old, very, very young boy. And so, it is necessary to say a few words here about him. Why he was specially dear to Thakur. As his mother had died at the time of his birth, he became an object of special love to all his relatives. He was only 3 or 4 years old when the master came for the first time to Calcutta. So, from birth up to 3-4 years, Thakur was his guardian. In 1852, the master therefore had the occasion to take Akshay on his lap and bring him up with loving care for 2 or 3 years before he came to Calcutta. But his father, Akshay's father, Ramkumar, never in his life took him on his lap. When asked the reason for it, he would say, "It will be love lost. The child will not live long." But Ramkumar died much earlier. Akshay died afterwards. But Ramkumar knew that Akshay will not live long. While afterward the master forgot himself, forgot the world, and engaged himself in spiritual practices, the beautiful child had been passing through the tender years and he was now about to enter youth. Naturally, he looked more beautiful than ever. So Akshay was beautiful in appearance also. Generally, this word beautiful is not used for male persons. We say handsome. And yes, the beauty of Akshay, the beauty is described. We were told by the master and his relatives that Akshay was indeed a beautiful person. They said, so some special beauty, spiritual. They said that his complexion was as bright as his features were graceful and handsome. Now handsome. He looked like a living form of Shiva. So that was the type of beauty he had. Now, mine. Akshay's devotion to Sri Ramachandra and his love of sadhana. Familiarity with Ramachandra, and Akshay started doing sadhana also. Akshay's mind was very much devoted from his childhood to Sri Ramachandra. He spent a long time daily in the service of Raghuveer in the house, his family deity. Therefore, when he took charge of the worship at the Dakshineshwar temple, he was appointed to do a duty which was quite to his liking. The master said, while he was performing the worship of Radha Govinda, he became so much absorbed in meditation that he had no idea of the crowds of people coming and going out of the temple. So, total absorption was another quality. And would not regain his normal consciousness before the lapse of a couple of hours. So once he entered the puja, he was so absorbed that for 2 hours or more, he would be in that state. Having finished the daily worship at the temple, he would go, we have been told by Hriday, to the Panchavati and spend a long time in worshipping Shiva there. So those who are Rama worshippers are generally Shiva worshippers also. He would then cook his food with his own hands, and after taking his meal, so every sign of a good sadhana. You may know that for brahmacharis, Self-cooked food is what the Shastras tell. He would then cook his food with his own hands and after taking his meal, apply his mind to the study of the Bhagavata. So, third dimension. Rama worship, Radhakanta worship. Rama worship in the childhood. In Dakshineshwar, Radha Govinda worship. And Shiva worship also. So he had the broadness of the mind also. And then reading Bhagavata. So love for the scriptures also. By a new urge of the love of God, he practiced so much of nyasa and pranayama, that his throat and palate bled and swelled now and again. So some extremes also enter. Pranayama is there to control the breath and through the breath to control the mind. But he became devoted to that thing. And so much he did that. Nyasa, Nyasa is another part of puja. Nyasa means keeping. And there are two types of nyasa in the puja, tantric puja. Karanyasa and Anganyasa. That means keeping the particular deities on your body so that the body becomes purified. So it is a lot of nyasa and pranayama. Pranayama is supposed to be preliminary to meditation. But he spent a long time in pranayama. That his throat and palate bled and swelled now and again. So in this matter he had gone to the extremes. Is it any wonder therefore that such love and devotion on his part to God endeared him to the master? So that is another thing, that he was motherless and Thakur cared for him. Now Thakur had forgotten the world and himself, and now Akshay came there, and Akshay was so much a sadhaka that Thakur loved him. Akshay's marriage. Years passed one after another till it was the end of Bengali year 1275, AD 1869. Add 600, subtract 6 or 7, you get the English year. 1275, add 600, 1875, subtract 6, 69, 1869. Till it was the end of Bengali year 1275 AD. Akshay's uncle Rameshwar came to know of his friend of his mind and began to search for a bride. That is what the people do. It was in the month of Chaitra that a suitable bride was found in the village of Kuchakol, not far from Kamarpukur, and Rameshwar came to Dakshineshwar to take Akshay home. Objections were raised against their starting on the ground that the month of Chaitra was held inauspicious for starting on a journey. Rameshwar and Akshay did not pay any heed to it and said that the prohibition of the scriptures was not applicable in the case of homecoming from a temporary residence elsewhere. Some people believe that going out is prohibited. Some people believe that traveling itself is prohibited. So that is what Rameshwar and Akshay both thought, that for coming home it is not prohibited. Akshay's marriage took place shortly after he returned home in the month of Vaishak of Bengali year 1276. Oh, that is, New Year started, Bengali New Year started So it becomes 1276. And here our formula would be to subtract 7 because English year is still continuing. It is 1689. Vaishak, the Bengali year starts from Vaishak, please remember. Because in most parts of India, the year starts from Chaitra. But the Bengali year starts from Vaishak, middle of April, solar year, solar month of April, Vaishak. So after 1 month he was married. Akshay fell severely ill after his marriage, recovered and went back to Dakshineshwar. Akshay fell seriously ill when he was in his father-in-law's house a few months after his marriage. Rameshwar, on receiving news of this, had him brought to Kamarpukur, where he was placed under treatment and brought round. He was then sent to Dakshineshwar. There his looks brightened and his health seemed to be improving, when suddenly he had an attack of fever. Doctors thought it was a simple fever and that he would be rid of it very soon. Akshay fell ill for the second time. The master had prescience of Akshay's death before he passed away. When he heard that Akshay fell ill in his father-in-law's house shortly after his marriage, the master, we were told by Hriday, had said, Ridu, the omens are extremely bad. He has been married to a bride of Rakshasa Gana. This one should understand. In the Indian method of astrology, there are 3 species by name when a human being is born. Devagana, Manushya Gana and Rakshasa Gana. Gana means type. So his bride was born in a Rakshasa Gana. And Rakshasas are cruel. The girl may not appear cruel from outside, but she is born of a Rakshasa Gana. And so, marriage with that girl will kill Akshay. That is what Thakur understood from that information of the almanac. The lad will die, I see. So though he recovered, that recovery was very temporary. And he came to Dakshineshwar and became ill again and it became serious. When the fever did not subside even after 3 or 4 days, that is in Dakshineshwar, he called Hriday to him and said, Hriday, doctors have not been able to diagnose the disease. Akshay has a complicated high and remittent fever. Call a good doctor and administer good treatment to your satisfaction. But the boy, it is certain, will not survive. So Thakur had a pre-knowledge. Hriday's apprehension and behavior when he was told that Akshay would not survive. Hriday said, when I heard him say so, I took him to task saying, don't uncle, let not such words pass your lips. He said, do I say so of my own accord? I say things involuntarily under the divine influence. I say when mother makes me know and say, do I wish that Akshay should die? So that is also a divine thought. Akshay's death and the master's behavior. This is the main topic here. Hriday was very much alarmed to hear those words of the master. He called in good physicians and tried in various ways to cure Akshay. But the disease went on worsening. Akshay suffered for about a month. When his last moment arrived, the master went to his bedside and said, Akshay, say Ganga Narayan Om Rama. Ganga Narayan Om Rama. Akshay repeated the mantra, so this becomes like a mantra because Thakur is telling. Akshay repeated the mantra once, twice, thrice. Thakur got him repeated thrice and passed away. So the last act of his living life was to utter special mantra given by Thakur. We were told by Hriday that the more he wept at Akshay's death, Hriday, the more did the master laugh in ecstasy. And that is the main thing we want to see here. Master's behavior was opposite to people's behavior, though he loved him so much. The master's agony at the death of Akshay. Later on he felt agony. That time, joy. Why? Although the master laughed that way to see from a high plane of spiritual consciousness the death of his dear nephew Akshay pleasant looks, it is not as if he did not feel a great shock in his heart. Now, why it is not mentioned here? It must be mentioned somewhere else. Why he became filled with joy? Thakur says he saw that there is a sword in a sheath and the sheath has dropped to the ground. Nothing has happened to this sword. So Atman is intact, the body has fallen down. This direct experience gave him joy. This is a spiritual truth. But we do not feel like that. We feel the death because somebody's body has died and we weep. But at the point of death, Thakur saw this very clearly, that nothing has happened to the soul, the Atman, and the body has dropped down, which is a sheath. So that was the matter. But later on, several times he spoke to us of this event long afterwards and said that although during ecstasy he regarded death as but a change of state, he felt a great void at the death of Akshay when he came down to the normal state of consciousness. So in Guru Purvada, we have met with this. That is why it is not described here in detail. There the point was how Thakur looked at the same thing by two different levels of vision. In that it was described. He could never again live in the mansion of the proprietors after Akshay's death, as it was there that he had passed away. So that would give him the physical association. Yesterday or today we have already described the owner's, proprietor's mansion, and it was free for Thakur. And there Akshay also was being treated, and there he died. So if Thakur goes there again, he will feel the association of that place with Akshay's death. So he did not go there. And this pain feeling and all that has also been described in Guru Purvada. Let us bring it to the mind. He said when he was there, next day or so, when the normal plane of consciousness, he felt as if his heart is being wrung like a towel, wet towel, to squeeze out every drop. That was the agony or pain he felt. And then the flash of light also came. Oh mother, you are showing me how the householders feel when their relations die. For that you are showing me this. Though I have no connection with my body, so no connection with Akshay the body. But there was a connection from body point of view. He was his nephew and he had taken care of him and he had loved him for his spiritual merits. But that he said that, mother, you are showing me how the householders feel when those do not have spiritual vision. So they feel when their relations die. All this was described in Guru Purvada, so not being repeated here. Now what change came? The master's brother Rameshwar was appointed priest. So their family had to act as priest. Ramkumar, Thakur, Hriday, Haldari, Akshay, and now Rameshwar. Rameshwar, the master's second elder brother, was appointed to worship Radha Govinda at Dakshineshwar after Akshay's death, but he could not always be at Dakshineshwar, as he was in charge of the whole management of the household at Kamarpukur. He used to place some suitable and reliable person in charge of his duty at Dakshineshwar and occasionally go to his village to stay there. Ramchandra Chattopadhyay and another person named Dinanath, we were told, officiated for him during his absence. So, same surname, but different people. Chattopadhyay, but Ramchandra Chattopadhyay, not directly mentioned as from Thakur's family. And another, Dinanath, his surname is not given, but Dinanath. So, one of them, Rameshwar would keep in his place, and because it was his responsibility. And he would go to Kamarpukur to manage the affairs there. The master went with Mathur to Ranaghat, the service of the poor as Narayana there. Now we have seen master going with Mathur to pilgrimage. And there in Devghar, a village near Devghar, Thakur asked Mathur to give sumptuous food, oil and clothes to the people there. Mathur objected that so much expense you will have to do in Kashi. But Thakur said, I won't go to your Kashi, I will stay with these people. So Mathur had to order from Calcutta a lot of cloth and food and all that and serve them. Now, second occasion for such a thing, Mathur had his own zamindari. He was landlord by Rani. And that place is called Ranaghat within Bengal. It was during this period that Mathur, accompanied by the master, went to his zamindari estate and to the house of his own guru. He did this then perhaps to relieve the feeling of want produced by Akshay's death in the master's heart. So the occasion may be that master's heart is feeling a void, so let us take him here and there to make it forget. For just as on the one hand, the highly devout Mathur regarded the master as God himself and followed him implicitly in all spiritual matters, so on the other, he looked upon him as but an ignorant child to be protected by him in all worldly matters. There, that means in Ranaghat, the master saw the extremely miserable condition of the men and women in a village and was very much moved. He invited them all and made Mathur, he invited all the villagers and made Mathur give each of them oil sufficient to cool their head, a full meal and a piece of new cloth. Hriday said that this event happened at a place called Kalaighat near Ranaghat. When Mathur, accompanied by him and the master, was on a boat trip in the Churni canal. The master saw Mathur's own house and that of his guru. Hriday told us that Mathur had his own home in the village called Sonabede near Satkhira. I told the Bengali pronunciation, though it is written R here, it is Sonabede near Satkhira, but Bengali pronounce it is Satkhira. The villages round it were then included in Mathur's estate. Mathur's original house, but then when he was given estate, they were included in that. Mathur's estate to which he took the master. The home of Mathur's guru was not far from this place. There was a quarrel going on at the time among the members of the family of the preceptor over the division of their property. They asked Mathur to intercede as a mediator. The village was called Talamargo. Talamargo, I think it is Talamagro. 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 That is the name of the village. In English, it has become Talamargo. In Bengal, it is Magro. On their way, Mathur made the master and Hriday ride on his elephant, and himself went in a palanquin. Because he was the Jamindar there. Now, in the footnote, there is a little variation. And Saradananda Swami mentions both. Hriday said that while he was going to the village, Mathur asked the master to go in a palanquin, as the road was uneven, and himself rode his elephant. Reaching the village, however, he satisfied the master's curiosity by having him seated on the elephant. So, master had every curiosity how it feels to sit on an elephant. So, Mathur made him sit there. That is in the footnote. In the main thing, he says he took him on the way. Pleased with the loving service of the sons of Mathur's preceptor, they had mutual quarrel, but they served Thakur very lovingly. The master spent a few weeks there before he returned to Dakshineshwar. Now what happened? These events have been described in Guru Bhav, so in the Sadhak Bhav they are briefly mentioned. Because Saradananda Swami said the Sadhak Bhav will make it like a biography. The master occupied the seat of Sri Chaitanya at the Hari Sabha of Kalutola. He visited Kalna, Navadvip, etc. Some additional places of pilgrimage, but before that an event in Calcutta, in a place called Kalutola. We have read all this during Guru. Shortly after he visited the houses of Mathur and his Guru and returned to Dakshineshwar, there happened a remarkable event connected with the master at Kalutola in Calcutta. A Hari Sabha, a meeting where Hari's name was sung, used to be in session in the house of Kalinath Datta, otherwise known as Kalinath Dhar. Kalinath Datta, also known as Kalinath Dhar. Being invited by the Sabha, the master went there and in ecstasy sat on the seat reserved in the name and in honor of Sri Chaitanya, the Great Lord. We have given the reader a detailed description of the incident elsewhere, that is in Gurva Uttarartha. Not long afterwards, the master had a desire to visit Navadvip and Navadvip, birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mathur took him to Kalna, Navadvip and some other places. So going to Navadvip, we took him to Kalna. We have told the reader elsewhere how he met the perfected devotee Bhagwan Das at Kalana. Perfected devotee means advanced in his sadhana. Siddha means having attained some success. That could be the better translation. If he was perfected, then how some drawbacks were in him? So, the Bengali must be Siddha Sadhana. Siddha Bhakter Sait. Siddha Bhakter Sait. That means literally it will mean perfected, but the connotation is not like that. People used to take him as a perfected person and they used to receive guidance from him. So a sadhak advanced or successful in his sadhana, that is Siddha. And it has been described as, he said, who sat on that seat and I will take away your rosary, and Thakur said, you have ego. Then he understood. We remember all those things. As soon as Thakur went, he had said some great person has come. So he had lot of success in his sadhana. And what a wonderful vision he had at Navadvip. That is also described in that Uttarartha. And that vision, he did not feel so deeply inspired while in Navadvip as then passing by these silted up shoals in the bed of the Ganga near that place. Asked by Mathur and others the reason of it, the master said that the old Navadvip containing the spots of Chaitanya's divine sport had submerged in the river. They had been situated where the shoals now stood. That was why he had deep ecstasy when he passed by them. Ganga Choda Sakale. That means within the Ganga you will see some land. And there this happened. Mathur's selfless devotion. Now we come to Mathur. It will not be out of place to mention here on the Hriday's authority an event illustrative of Mathur's selfless devotion attained as the result of the wholehearted service he had rendered to the Master continually for 14 long years. So Mathur had much more receptivity than Hriday, and serving Thakur so lovingly, he had also attained this selfless devotion. Example. Once Mathur Babu became bedridden on account of a boil in a joint of his body. Having come to know of Mathur's eagerness to see the master at that time, Hriday told the master of it. But the master said, "What's the use of my going? Can I cure his boil?" So Thakur is testing him, and to show to Hriday Ram rather that the Mathur is not calling for physical, but he is feeling the urge of seeing Thakur, and that is why he is calling. When Mathur found that the master did not come, he sent messenger after messenger and informed him of his eager desire. After this supplication, the master had to yield. Mathur's happiness knew no bounds when the master came to him. He got up with great difficulty, sat reclining against a bolster, and said, "Father, give me a little dust of your feet." He cannot bend and touch his feet, so give me a dust of your feet. The master said, "Of what avail will it be to you to take the dust of my feet? Will it cure your boil?" Deliberately he is saying this so that the real thing would come out. Mathur replied, "Father, am I so mean? Do I want the dust of your feet to cure my boil? Doctors enough are there for that purpose. I want the dust of your feet in order to cross the sea of the world." As soon as Mathur said this, the master was in ecstasy. Mathur placed his head on his feet and regarded himself as blessed. Tears of bliss streamed out from both his eyes. Mathur was cured of the disease in a short time on that occasion. So, the narration is about his selfless devotion and how he panged for vision of Thakur. The profound relation of love between the master and Mathur. We were told by the master and Hriday many things about Mathur's devotion to and faith in the master at that time. Mathur had the firm conviction that the master was his only refuge and resort both here and hereafter. The master's grace for him was also boundless. Although the independent-minded master felt annoyed now and then at some of Mathur's actions, that means he was not obliged to Mathur to agree with whatever he does. He forgot them immediately, granted all his requests, and tried to do what was conducive to his welfare, both in this world and in the next. So Thakur wants spiritual welfare. What a strong and profound loving relation subsisted between the master and Mathur is clearly seen in the following anecdote. So, another anecdote is being mentioned. An anecdote. Once the master said in ecstasy, as long as O Mathur, as long O Mathur, as you live, I shall be here at Dakshineshwar. Mathur was startled to hear it, for he knew that the mother of the universe herself, in the person of the master, was always protecting him and his family. Therefore, when he heard it, Mathur thought that the master would forsake his family after his passing away. He then said very humbly to the master, "What's this, father? My wife and son Dwaraka are very much devoted to you." Seeing that Mathur was distressed, the master said, "Very well, I will be here as long as your wife and Dwari live." Actually, other sons, Trilokyanath, etc., they were not so much devoted to Thakur, but one of Mathur's son, Dwarikanath, and Jagdamadasi, of course, we have seen. So Mathur also knew that. Mathur said, "Dwari loves you." So he said, "Okay, I will stay till he is there." In fact, it actually turned out to be so. The master left Dakshineshwar for good shortly after the death of Jagdamadasi and Dwarkanath. Jagdamadasi died in 1881 and Dwarka had died before her. The master was at Dakshineshwar for a little more than 3 years after this event. Then, 1884, he went to Calcutta. Footnote: Jagdamma died on or about 1st January 1881. Intestate, that means no will was made for her. Leaving defendant Triloksha in some case. Then the only son of Mathur, heir surviving. Quoted from plaintiff's statement in High Court suit number 203 of 1389. The quarrel was with the sons of Padmamani and Trilokya. So in that it is mentioned that Jagdamma died on such and such date and Dwarka had predeceased her. Another anecdote. On another occasion, Mathur said to the master, "How is this, father? You said your devotees would come, but why are they not coming?" The master replied, "I don't know how long from now mother will bring them, but mother herself has revealed it to me. Whatever else she made known to me has proved to be true, one by one. Who knows why this has not?" So saying, the master was in a depressed mood and thought, was that vision of mine then a delusion? Mathur felt sorry to see him depressed and thought within himself that it was foolish on his part to have raised that topic. So he loved him like anything. In order to console the childlike master, he then said to him, "Father, let them come or not. I am here your devotee, always following you obediently. How then can it be said that your vision has not come true? For I am myself a host. Host means many devotees. Host of devotees we say. So I am myself a host. Host not in the sense of a host and guest. Host in Bengali. Ami ekai ek shata bhaktir tulya. I am myself equivalent to 100 devotees. That is what Mathur said. So I am myself a host. If it does not give that idea, the original is I am equivalent to 100 devotees. That is why Mother said many devotees would come. The master said, what you say may be true, who knows? But inside that devotees came after Mathur. Mathur did not proceed further on the topic, but raising another, diverted the master's mind. No wonder that Mathur had such a selfless devotion, what the Shastras say. So, influence of Thakur and Mathur is being described. We had told the reader in the part entitled as the spiritual teacher how great changes were produced in Mathur's ideas, Mathur's bhav, by keeping the constant company of the master. Thought world, idea world has changed. Those who render service to a liberated person become, say the scripture, the recipients of the results of all the good actions done by him. So, result of good actions is this change of attitude. So, is it a wonder that those who serve an incarnation of God should come to be endowed with various divine acquisitions and selfless qualities? So, that is the influence. There, a footnote was given that his relations will imbibe his physical properties, those who hate him will get the result of his bad actions, and those who lovingly serve him will get the result of his good actions. So here it is mentioned the result of Thakur's punya, Mathur gets in the form of change of attitude. Mathur passed away. So that is the point. The ceaseless flow of time with its waves of adversity and prosperity, happiness and misery, union and separation, life and death, brought the world gradually to the year Bengali year 1278, AD 1871. So 2 years after that, Akshay is passing away. The relationship of Mathur with the master, deepening through the years, reached its 15th year. The month of Vaishak passed in 1871. Here some problem is there. 78, 7 if you get, 71, correct. Reduce 7. Correct. The month of Vaishak passed, Jeshta came and went, and half of Ashad disappeared into the abyss of the past. When Mathur became bedridden with fever, rising rapidly, the fever turned into a complicated and remittent type of in a week, and Mathur lost his power of speech. The master knew beforehand that Mother was going to take her devotee into her affectionate bosom. Mathur's vow of devotion was completed. Therefore, although he used to send Hriday daily to see Mathur, so Mathur was in his house in Jan Bazar. He never went to see him even once. The last day came and Mathur was taken to the Kali Ghat. We have seen that, taking near the Ganges. The master did not send even Hriday that day, but remained in deep samadhi in the afternoon for 2 or 3 hours. His body lay at the Dakshineshwar, while he went in a celestial body along a path of light to Mathur, his devotee, and fulfilled the goal of his life. He personally made him ascend to the sphere attainable by great accumulation of merit. So, Devi Lok, he went to Devi Lok by Thakur's grace. The master saw the event in Bhavsamadhi. So physically he did not go, but he went and saw this in Bhavsamadhi. When the master's ecstasy came to an end, it was past 5 in the evening. He called Hriday to him and said, Mathur got into a celestial chariot, into which companions of the Divine Mother lifted him affectionately, and his spirit went to the sphere of the Devi. Hriday remained silent on hearing it. When the night was far advanced, the officers of the Kali temple returned. They had gone there and gave Hriday the news that Mathur had passed away at 5 in the evening. So, at that time, Thakur told him. Footnote. Mathuramad Vishwas died in July 1871, intestate, leaving surviving Jagdamba, sole widow, Bhupal, since deceased, a son by his another wife who had predeceased him. He was married to that Karunamai and she had a son and he had also deceased and that wife also. And Dwarkanath Vishwas, since deceased, defendant Trailuksha and Thakur Das alias Dharmadas, that is Trailuksha's brothers. 3 sons by the said Jagdamba. So, 3 sons by the same Jagdamba, Triloksha, Thakur and Dharmadas. That is a party. The other party is Padma Mani's sons. Quoted from plaintiff's statement in High Court suit number 230 of 1889, Shamacharan Vishwas versus Trilokshanath Vishwas, Gurudas, Kalidas, Durgadas and Kumudini, all the second generation after that. So, Saradananda Swamiji has taken pains for objectivity. He has referred to the statements of the case and from there he has taken this to be exactly objective. We heard from the master on a different occasion and I acquainted the reader with it elsewhere, same in the Guru Bhav, that the highly devout Mathuranath would have to return to this world as his desire for enjoyment remained unfulfilled. His devotion became selfless, but he did not become desireless. Desire was still unfulfilled, so Thakur said he will be born as a king out of that desire. But at that point he has gone to Devi Loka. Now here in the suit, it is mentioned that in the text that the highly devout Mathuranath. So there is a footnote. He was known as both Mathuranath and Mathura Mohan. Thakur used to call him Mathur. So we come to the end of this chapter. Main thing was Akshay, death, Thakur's going with Mathur to here and there, fulfilling the needs of the poor people, and Kalana event and Navadvip event, and then Mathur's selfless service, and then Mathur's illness and death. And Thakur going to a mini-subtle body of light, and seeing that a chariot has taken him to Devi Loka. And he will be born again. After he enjoys a period in Devi Loka, he will be born as a king. And in Akshay also we saw another important thing is that Thakur knew that he is married to a girl of Rakshasa Gana and so he will not survive for long. And that also after marriage, and that is what happened. So we take leave of a simpler chapter and are going to a very important chapter. And that is 28th chapter, the worship of Shodashi. Better we do not broach it today. Tomorrow we will see this very, very important chapter. It is more about Holy Mother than about Thakur. So we shall enter it tomorrow. Om Sarvadharma Sthapakastvam Sarvadharma Swarupakah Acharyanam Acharyo Ramakrishna Te Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.